Yesterday we saw how to launch different drivers. Okay. And the question which I told you was that whether we'll have to write a different piece of code for every browser. The answer to that is no. If we have to write a script, that script has to be for a single, that script has to be a single script working on multiple browsers, right? And that can be done using interfaces. Okay, so basically we have to write a single script which can work on all the browsers, right? So that is possible through interfaces. And today we are going to talk about interfaces only. Okay, let me just add the jar files of Selenium. One minute. So I've created a new project, right? In that project, I've added the jar files, right? Now, I'll just make a new file over here. Okay, so what I want to do is that I want a variable that the browser is equal to, say, Mozilla. Then whatever script I write over here should work on Mozilla. Okay, right. Now, if I change the browser over here to Chrome, then the same script should be working on Chrome. Okay, so general common sense, if you apply, then it looks like that we can simply use if-else statements. All right, and we can achieve this. Okay, we can simply write that if browser is equal to Chrome, and you can initialize a Chrome driver. All right. Um, guys, give me 2 minutes. Okay, somebody from batch is calling me on my mobile phone. Okay, I don't know what's the issue. All right, just give me 2 minutes. I'll be back. Let me just pick up this call. Hold on. Yeah, okay. So, as I was telling you, we need to have different browsers, right? So you can use if-else statements over here, right? And you can write Chrome driver dot get to the website. Okay. And then once you are done this, you can put an else over here, and you can give a statement that else if the browser is equal to Mozilla, then a Fox driver object you can create. Okay, and you can take Firefox driver to cnn.com. Okay, and else if the browser is equal to Edge, can create the object of Edge driver. Fine, and you can take Edge driver to cnn.com. But does this make sense? If I have to click on a link on Chrome, I'll have to write the code click over here. And if I have to click on the same link on Mozilla, I'll have to write the code to click here and Edge over here. So this doesn't make sense because although we are able to make the script, okay, if we change the browser name over here to Mozilla, then obviously the script will run on Mozilla. Okay, but I am repeating my code. For every browser, I have to write a separate piece of code under the else, right? So what we do is that we prefer to uh, use interfaces over here. Okay, the concept of interfaces in Java language. Fine. So let me talk about interfaces now. Now, what is an interface? Interface is something which gives you an idea about the system, right? For example, if you buy a book, just by looking at the cover of it, you understand what it's all about. So the cover of the book is like an interface, which gives you an idea that what the book is all about, but how the book actually will be, you really don't know. Okay. So similarly in Java, we have interfaces, right? I'll create a new interface. Fine. And I'll just name it as, say, machine interface. So the interface machine has basic functions like public, void, start, service. Okay. So these are two basic features of the machine interface. Okay. Right. So suppose I have a new class known as, say, JCB machine. So JCB machine is a class and machine is an interface. The interface will just have the method declarations. It won't have the body. Okay, it will just say that fine, these should be the methods in the machine interface. Okay, the JCB machine class, it will implement the machine interface. So a class can implement an interface. And if a class is implementing an interface, this basically means that it has to implement all the functions in the interface. If you move the mouse over there and get the option add unimplemented methods, so you will have to give bodies mandatorily to these two methods, start and service, in case you are implementing the machine interface. If I remove one of the functions, I'll start getting an error. Okay, you have to implement all the functions of the interface in case a class is implementing that interface. Right, inside it, I can write JCB machine starting, JCB machine service, right? Okay, and similarly, we can make a new class, right? And I can call this class as uh, say heavy machine. The heavy machine class can also implement the machine interface. So you will have to add unimplemented method over here as well. Okay, this at the rate override is basically an annotation. You can remove it as well. It's not mandatory, but it's known as annotation. It basically says that this function is coming from the interface. Okay, if a layman looks at your code, he will come to know that the start function has come up from the interface. Okay, and inside it, you can implement it in its own way. That is heavy machine starting, heavy machine service. Okay, right. So this is JCB machine class, and this was heavy machine. So we can make a new class with the main function to execute. Okay, you known as a test machine, which will have a main function. Right. So you can create the object of JCB machine, and you can also create the object of heavy machine. Okay, with JCB machine object, you can call the functions like start and service. And a heavy machine class can also call its own functions start and service. Okay. So when you run this code, you see that it prints its corresponding lines, right? The function names are same in both the classes. Okay, both the classes are implementing the same machine interface. The function names are same, but the implementation can vary class to class. Okay, so technically what I did was I had an interface. Okay, this interface was machine, and this interface was is being implemented by two classes. One is heavy machine and the other is JCB machine. Okay, so whatever are the functions in the machine interface have to be present inside these two classes. Okay, so what was the use of interface? Okay, I could had decided um, not to make this interface. Okay, why did I build the interface? I could have decided, no, I could have simply made these two classes. What did I achieve by actually using this interface? Look, the first thing which we achieved is that, uh, sorry, yeah, the first thing which we achieved was that we had, if we have more machine classes coming up, all of them will be implementing the machine interface and all of them would have the same set of functions. By just looking at the interface, anybody can tell that what will be the functions inside the implementing classes. Okay, so the first advantage of using interface is that same function names in implementing classes. Okay, even a layman, if he looks at the machine interface, he will come to know that the function names are same. Okay, the second advantage is dynamic handles, which I'll talk about in some time. Okay, I've talked about the point number one, that if you have an interface and if classes implement that interface, then the classes will have same functions. Okay, if you look at the documentation of Selenium now, if you scroll down, if you go to API docs, out here, whatever is written in italics is an interface. Okay, for example, mouse. Mouse is an interface. Okay, and these are the two implementing classes: event firing mouse, remote mouse. Okay, similarly, if you scroll down, everybody has heard about WebDriver. Okay, technically, WebDriver is an interface in Selenium. Okay, WebDriver is an interface. Okay, it is an interface which is the starting point. Okay, and all the driver classes, Chrome driver, Firefox driver, Safari driver, all the driver classes, they implement the interface. Okay, so WebDriver is internally an interface, and all our driver classes, okay, Chrome driver, or you have got Firefox driver, okay, or you have the drivers like Safari driver or Edge driver. So all these driver classes, they are implementing the WebDriver interface. Just like Heavy Machine and JC Machine were implementing the machine interface. Okay, so that means all these driver classes would have same set of function names. Whatever functions are defined inside the WebDriver interface, all these driver classes would have same set of functions. If you look at the WebDriver interface, then you have basic functions like get the title of the web page, get title, close the browser, find the element, get function to load a particular URL. Fine. So the advantage of this thing is that we will know that, hold on, if we are creating the object of Chrome driver or Firefox driver or Edge driver, the function names inside these classes will remain same. Like the get function is there in all the three classes, which is used to take the browser to the URL. Or if after going to the URL, you want to get the title of the web page. So you just have to write Chrome driver dot get title. In case of Firefox browser also, the function name would remain the same, Firefox driver dot get title. And in case of Edge driver also, the function name would remain the same. So the function names in all the three driver classes, they will remain the same. This is the advantage of interface. If I run this program, you will see that Mozilla will take you to CNN. Right. This is the title. And if even if you change it to Chrome, then Chrome will launch and you'll get the title. But this doesn't solve our problem. Still, I'm writing separate piece of, even though function names are same, this doesn't solve the problem that, you know, I have to write separate piece of code for each browser. Okay, right. So what do I do? How do I write a same piece of code now? So the answer comes up from the second advantage of interface. I told you there are two advantages of interfaces. The second advantage is dynamic handles. Okay, so let's talk about that now. All right. So just listen to this carefully, people. They get confused here. Let's go back to our original example, the machine interface. Okay, so if I try to create the object of the interface, you will get an error. Okay, you cannot create the object of the interface because interface is something which is not having um, any method body inside it. They're just declarations. You cannot create the object of an interface. It's not possible. But yes, you can write something like this. The object reference of interface equal to, say, the class implementing the interface. You can do this. Okay, right. So the object reference is of the interface, and this is the class which is implementing the interface. So this line and this line, they are different. The reference of the class is equal to the object over here. The interface reference is pointing towards the class which is implementing the interface. So how is this line different from this line? Right. So suppose in JCB machine, right, I have a function like public void, say GPS. Now this is a function which is proprietary to JCB machine. Okay, right. This is a function which is proprietary to JCB machine. This is not a function which is coming up from the machine interface. Okay, so of course, you can call this function over here. And of course, heavy machine will not have access to GPS function because that is not there inside that class. Okay, but when you create object like this, object of JCB machine, and equate it to the reference of machine class, then if you create the object like this, you can access the functions like m dot start m dot service m dot GPS. You cannot access the proprietary functions this way. You can only access the functions which are coming up from the machine interface inside the class. You cannot access the proprietary functions. So when you create object like this interface reference, you can only access functions coming from interface inside the class, not the proprietary functions. So what is the advantage of this code? Okay, I could have made the object simply like this, but what is the advantage of making the object like this? The advantage is I can write, say, machine m2 equals to new JCB machine. Okay, let me put a demarcating line. I can call m2 dot start. So this will call the start function of JCB machine. Okay, so when you run this, see, and on the next line, I can make m2 point towards object of heavy machine as well. So this is the advantage. M2 is the interface reference. It can point to JCB machine or heavy machine. If I call the start function again, this will call the start function for heavy machine. Okay, so when you run this, you see that. So this is the advantage. You have one object reference. You can make it point towards any implementing class. I can define, okay, I can again make a demarcating line. I can define machine M3 equals to null. That means M3 is not pointing anywhere. Based on my decision, I can make M3 point towards new ACB machine or M3 point towards new heavy machine. So it's completely my choice. Okay, right. When M3 is pointing towards JCB machine, if I call the functions like start, service, stop, any functions, this will call the functions in JCB and M3 dot uh, start. This will call the functions in heavy machine. So this is the advantage. Okay. Now I told you that we have a machine class and we can have any implementing classes. Similarly, you have the WebDriver interface and all the driver classes like Chrome driver, Firefox driver, all these classes are implementing the WebDriver interface. Okay, we had been creating the objects like this, that is Chrome driver. Okay, or Firefox driver. Okay, or edge driver. Now, instead of creating the objects like this, I can also write, say, the WebDriver interface. Okay, right. And WebDriver interface D2 equals to new Firefox driver. Or I can take one reference only, like I have done machine M3 equals to null. I can write WebDriver driver equals to null, and based on my choice, what I want to do, I can make this driver point towards a Chrome driver, or I can make this driver point towards a Firefox driver, or I can make this driver point towards Edge driver. So this is the advantage, that I can take one reference of WebDriver and point it towards Chrome or Firefox or Edge based on my choice. So this is the advantage, second advantage of interface, that we get dynamic handles. This is a handle, this is a reference. It can be moved dynamically to the object of any particular class. Okay, right? So now what we are going to do is we are going back to our dynamic browsers class. And you don't need to write code like this. You can just declare the driver interface reference WebDriver equals to null. And you can point driver to new Chrome driver in this case, and driver to new Firefox driver in this case, and driver to new Edge driver in this case. So this is the advantage interface gives you. You can point this driver dynamically to any particular browser. And you can write over here driver.get to, you don't need to write it again and again, driver.get. Once your browser is opened, you can call the function driver.get http cnn.com. The function names will be same, okay, because they are all coming from the WebDriver interface. So at this point over here, the browser will be open, and then you can fire the commands on the browser. The commands are same for all the driver classes because all the driver classes are implementing the same interface. Okay, so this is the script which will open the browser dynamically. Okay, once the browser is opened with this piece of code, you can fire the normal commands on it, and If I run this, I'll see that Chrome will open. Right? And if I just change this to Mozilla, then the same script is going to run with Mozilla. So this is achieved. Hi everyone. Um, Ashish here. Sorry, Teams, it suddenly crashed on my PC. But till what time you were able to see it? I don't know. Like, did you follow me until now?
Yes, Ashish. Yep.
Okay, it
Yes, it
crashed on my PC.
yes.
Could open the browser dynamically and then go to the website and then fire the normal commands. Right. Now, once you're on the
Ashish,
website,
I have a doubt here. Uh, you mentioned you created string variable browser equals to Mozilla, right? So, is it okay with that? If we may here we wrote if else Chrome, Mozilla, Edge like that.
yeah,
So
later on this variable will not be there. We'll be reading the value from some file, from an Excel file or a JSON file or a properties file. Right now, I've just hard coded it
and why did you mention here WebDriver driver equals to null?
because in beginning we have not initialized it. Okay, if you look at this example I was taking over here, also I have taken say machine M3 equals to null. Based on my choice, I've initialized M3 to JCB machine or heavy machine. Okay, similarly, driver is null. Based on our choice, we can initialize it to anything. It is similar to like writing int I. Okay, and then on the next line, I can write I10 or I equals to 100. It's my choice. Okay, null means nothing. It is not pointing to anything. So based on our choice, we can make it point towards something. So that's what we have done over here. In the beginning, we don't know where to point it to, and then we decide where to point it to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then we fire the commands. And now, once you're on the website, you have to interact with the web page, with the elements on the web page, like button, link. Okay, you have different elements on the web page, right? So you will have to interact with those elements. So that's the next target, that how to write a script which can interact with the elements of the web page. Okay. So anyways, we'll come down to that as well. But before that, there are few things which I want to tell you. As beginners, we are not aware of Eclipse. Okay. At times, by mistake, we close this package explorer. So I'm just telling you about few features of Eclipse. Okay. You can bring it back through window. This is the window tab. It's not here. Okay, my Eclipse is not clicking on this. Or you can click on this normal restore button. Okay, okay, my top menu. I think Teams is blocking it or something. Just a minute. Yeah. Window, you can go to show view and package explorer. So the package explorer will come back. At the bottom, you have got console. At times, by mistake, you close console as well. So through window, show view, console, you can bring it back. Okay, right. Sometimes what happens is you copy a piece of code from somewhere, from some other system or from internet, and obviously you have a lot of imports because you have to import WebDriver, Chrome driver, and suppose the imports are missing in that piece of code. So you have to move your mouse over each of this and import everything, right? But instead of importing everything, you can hit a Control Shift O, O as in orange of the program, and all the imports will come up automatically. Control Shift O. Okay, so this is again a very important thing. One more thing which I have already told you, if you're writing something, if you have to write Firefox driver, you just write FIR and hit Control space bar. You will get all the options available with that particular wording. Right. Now at times what happens is you have a file opened over here. For example, I open machine.java, which is an interface, but you really don't know where that file is lying inside the package explorer. So it's very important that you keep the linkage to package explorer with this file on. These two yellow lines link with editor. This is the linkage. Always keep these two clicked. If you keep these two clicked, it will ease your life. Whichever your file you open over here will be highlighted. See, I've opened JCB machine. So JCB machine has highlighted on the left side. If I open test machine, so test machine will highlight. If I open Selenium basics, then in day 2, Selenium basics is highlighted. So these two arrows link with editor. Always keep them clicked. These are small things, but they will save your life. Okay. Now, sometimes you have a huge project. Okay, there are say 50 Java files in the project. And you remember the file name, you remember that file. I had created a file with the name machine.java. I need to open it. But when the files vary, when the number of files they increase over here, it's very tough to find machine.java. It's very easy now because I just have 5 files. Instead of it, if I would have been having 100 files, it would have been tough to find machine.java. So to find machine.java, the shortcut is Control Shift and T. T as in telephone. You will get a window like this. In this window, you just type machine and you will get the file machine, and you open it, it will open. Okay. If I close all the files, Okay, hit Control Shift T and type machine. I will get machine.java and I can open it. So Control Shift T helps us over here, wherein you want to find the file by the file name instead of double clicking over here and opening, because at times you tend to forget where the file was. Okay, so these are some of very important and generic shortcuts in Eclipse, which will make your work easy. Okay, always have these two arrows clicked, link with editor. Okay, always use Control Shift O to make imports. Whenever you are writing code, okay, please write the half word and hit Control space bars. Okay, so the small things will make your work easy. Fine. So we'll stop here for today. Okay, tomorrow what we will do is we will see that once the browser is opened, the way I have opened the browser dynamically, you are on the website, how you can interact with the elements. Okay, the next class will be on Monday morning Indian time, which is Sunday evening US. Okay, anybody with any questions?
I have a question, Ashish. In Package Explorer, how do we recognize whether it is interface or class?
In Package Explorer, how do we recognize whether it is interface?